Let's turn now to the international news, where the Russian President Vladimir Putin has waved away a warrant for his arrest, completing his first visit to the ruined Ukrainian city of Mariupol. The warrant was issued by the International Criminal Court on Friday, accusing Putin of war crimes, including the unlawful transport of children from Ukraine to Russia in the years since the invasion. Despite the warrant, the ICC has no power to conduct the arrest, given Russia does not recognise the court's legitimacy. The other 123 countries that do, including Australia, may pool their resources in a bid to bring Putin before a trial. To look more at this, let's bring in Professor Don Rothwell, an international law expert at the ANU. Professor Rothwell, thanks for your time. As always, what are the implications of this indictment by the ICC?
Well, I'd say that there are two, Kieran. The first is that this is the major indictment from the International Criminal Court arising out of the investigation into the situation in Ukraine following the Russian invasion of Ukraine in February of last year. And we know that the International Criminal Court has been conducting ongoing investigations into that situation. So that's the first point. The second point is that this is a very symbolic moment, because the arrest warrant with respect to President Putin is the first time that the International Court has sought to issue an arrest warrant for a serving head of state for one of the permanent 5 members of the United Nations Security Council, of which, of course, the Russian Federation is one member.
Indeed. So the symbolism is great. What are the prospects of ever bringing him to justice?
Well, as you noted in your introduction, Russia is not a party to the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court, so there's no legal obligation upon Russia as such to hand over Vladimir Putin. But there is a legal obligation upon the 123 member states to seek to bring about the effectuation of that arrest warrant and to make sure that it's acted upon. Now, that means that if Putin was to leave Russia and enter the territory of any country that is an ICC member state, well, then those countries are under an obligation to arrest Putin immediately and hand him over to the court at The Hague. But there's also ongoing obligations upon countries like Australia to continue to support the International Criminal Court in terms of gathering evidence to try to ensure that there would be a conviction if any charges were eventually brought against Putin if he is brought before the court.
So if he were to attend an international summit, as he has done over the years, in a country that is signatory to the criminal court and its various conventions, then he would risk arrest.
Most certainly, and I think that needs to be recalled, that that's not only the situation that exists at the moment, but in theory it exists forever whilst President Putin remains alive. And even if he is no longer president of Russia, he will still be subject to the arrest warrant issued by the court. So yes, whenever he moves outside of Russia, he runs the risk of being subject to arrest and transferal to the International Criminal Court in The Hague.
And just finally, Professor Rothwell, when we talk about the evidence, it seems clear-cut to those that have watched the horrific images out of Ukraine over the last year or so, a bit more than that now. In terms of the ICC, though, they have to be completely thorough in terms of the preparation of any such case?
Most certainly, but I think we need to remind ourselves that the prosecutor of the International Criminal Court has reached a point in their investigations that they felt that they had sufficient evidence to be able to go to the trial chamber of the court to seek this arrest warrant to be issued. So from this point onwards, the prosecutor can only just build upon that case in terms of further evidence. But from the prosecutor's perspective, their position was really that on Friday, they believed that they had sufficient evidence to convict Putin of the particular crimes of transportation and abduction of the children.
Professor Don Rothwell from the ANU, thank you for your insights as always. Thanks.